Hello everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another cross stitching video. In this video, I am going to be doing like a little weekly theme. I have been trying to do like a weekly theme to my videos and to my stitching, and I feel like it's just a fun way to work on, different groupings of projects for myself. And so this week's theme is spring stitching, and so where I am, it is currently, we're right in the middle of spring, and so I'm going to be working on projects with flowers because I don't really have a lot that is just like spring related or spring in the title or anything like that. So I am pulling out, I have 5 full coverage pieces that are in the bags here. And my plan is all of these projects have flowers in them. I will try and stitch on the flowers when I can. I think there might be a couple where it would be hard to stitch on the flowers, but I'm gonna try and get to the flowers. So I have 5 full coverage projects and I'm just going to work through them. I think I'm going to do a rotation of 500 stitches. So every 500 stitches, I will switch to a different project and we will see how it goes. And so I will quickly name off the projects that I'm working on. So there is going to be Sanctuary, which is by the artist Sheila Wolk and charted by Charting Creations. I have, which one is this? I think this might be Dragon Race Into the Night, which is artwork by Rose Kahn and charted by Pain Free Crafts. In this one, you might be like, is there flowers? There's some flowers at the very bottom and in some of the other areas. There's like a small amount of flowers. I'm making it work because I love this chart. Then I have Cozy Winter Book Nook, which is also by Rose Kahn, charted by Pain Free Crafts. And this one does have like a few flower vases and some florals hanging from the wall. So even though it's a winter chart, it's got my little spring flowers, and so that means that it counts. And then I have Dark Cinderella, which is by the artist Barrett Biggers. This one's also charted by Pain Free Crafts. I feel almost like I could just do like a week of Pain Free Crafts at this point. And this one, it has flowers going down one side of the chart, and so I'm going to work on that side of the chart to do some flowers. And then we have a chart that it's got flowers in the name, Rose Library, by the artist Ivy Dollamore and charted by Unconventional X Stitch. So that is what I'm going to be working on. I have all of these projects out and I am just real excited because I want to get back to full coverage, because last week I was doing like little small new starts that were mostly like linen and over 2, and I am ready to get back to working on my 25 and 28 count with 10th stitch, which is a half stitch. I'm ready for some full coverage stitching after that week of not full coverage. I think the chart that I'm going to start off with first is Sanctuary, and the reason I'm going to do this one first is because this one is like a seasonal project. I pulled it out specifically for spring, and then once we get to summer, I'm going to be putting it away, and I am doing summer as starting on June 1st, which means that this is going to be like my last chance to work on this one before it gets put away. And so I'm going to be doing 500 stitches on this first, and I will be working, I think, down in this area because this area has some darker colors and I don't want to do the light stitching right now. Don't feel like that. And this is on a 28 count, 2/1 half stitch, and I will be back once I have done my 500 stitches and I'm ready to pick my next project. I am back and I have now done my 500 stitches into Sanctuary, which you cannot really tell what I did, I don't think. So I was working on this area here by the fairy, and I have the mock-up and pattern keeper over here, and so I wasn't technically working on the flower. It was more like the background of behind the flower. So, but this is so like abstract looking artwork that it's hard to just like, unless I went down to the bottom. I guess I could have tried to go down to the bottom, or there's more like these like red flowers down here. But yeah, a lot of it's pretty like abstract at the top, you know? So that is what I got done. It was 500 stitches, and then I am ready to switch projects. This is not like my favorite project to work on. I've mentioned before, there's a lot of light colors on light fabric, and it's also just a lot of color changes because of the way that the art is, where it's like not blocks of color anywhere, I don't think. So I just randomly grabbed a project bag, and so I think the project that got picked was Dragon Race Into the Night, and so I will get that one out. So here's the artwork for Dragon Race Into the Night, and I'm trying to work on flowers, and so I'm going to work in this bottom section right there. There's like a little cluster of like some like yellow flowery bits and like a butterfly. So I'm going to be working in the bottom corner, and I think I will be able to easily get to that area because I will show you my fabric. So I have the pink flag right there, and so I just need to kind of go a little bit above the pink flag, and hopefully I will be able to stitch on flowers, some florals. And so I'm excited to be working on this project. I do love whenever this one comes out. And this is on a 28 count 2/1 half cross. And I will be back once I have done at least 500 stitches, possibly more, just because this is a favorite project. I'm back and I have done a little over 600 stitches. I think it might be closer to 700 stitches on Dragon Race Into the Night. And I was working on filling in the yellow where the flowers are going to be, and then also doing some of like, there's some darker stitches around it and that are going to be kind of interspersed in the flowers. I will insert a picture of what the artwork is supposed to look like in that corner so you can kind of see what I was doing, because the one thing with full coverage stitching compared to like non-full coverage stitching that I was doing last week is that it takes a while to actually fully see the details. So right now there's an idea of what will be there, but it's not really visible, if you know. Getting farther away does not help. Anyways, so yeah, I did almost 700 stitches. I'm going to switch projects just because I want to make sure I have enough time to work on all 5 of the full coverage projects that I picked out. And the next one that I picked out is Dark Cinderella, which is another one by Pain Free Crafts, which was also the one that I was just working on, was Pain Free Crafts. And the one thing I'm going to say too is I'm saving my like 2 favorites for the end. So I'm saving Cozy Winter Book Nook and Rose Library until the end, because then if I have extra time in the week, I think I'm just gonna work on those 2 more. Like especially Rose Library, like it is so on theme for flowers. Rose Library, on theme. So I really want to try and give like extra time to that project at the end if I can. So Dark Cinderella is artwork by Barrett Biggers. I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. I will be working on this side of the chart because this is the side that has like more flowery areas. And I think if I stitch some of this blue down a little bit, there will be more of like these light colored flowers. So I think I'm going to stitch down this side a little bit to try and get to more flowers. And this is on 32 count 1/1 tent stitch, which is a half stitch. And we will see how long it takes me to do this, because so far I was able to do my stitching for my first project in one day. I was able to do Dragon Race Into the Night on day 2, so today is day 3, and I'm hoping I can get my 500 stitches in today. But there's also a skate night at the school, or not at the school, but for the school, and so I will not be home tonight to work on this. So we will see what I can get done. I'm also adding a little something extra to my little flower week that I'm doing, and that is I remembered that I had some yarns right here, which these are the Flower Power Red Heart yarns. So I have multiple colors of this yarn from when Joanne went out of business. So I have 2 I've used before in a project. So I have these 2 colors here, which I know one of them I think is called, this is Black Dahlia. It makes these like nice little black and gray squares, which I love black clothing. And then this one was Daisy something, where is it? Daisy Dew. So I used these 2 to make a wrap cardigan, and I still have some left, and so I want to keep making squares. And then I also have these 2 colors that I have never used for a project. So the red one is, what is it called? Red Hot Phlox? I don't know, Phlox. And then the blue is Catelli Bronze. So we have these 2. I've never used them in a project, but I do have a square made up of each color because I think I just wanted to see like how they would look crocheted up. So these are crochet squares, and the yarn changes colors while you crochet. So you do not have to like weave in a bunch of ends at the end of the project. It's just self-changing as you go, which also means that sometimes when you're going, you have to like undo an area and tighten up your crocheting or loosen up your crocheting to make it all work out. And then here's the blue one. And so I was thinking, to go along with my flower week that I am doing, that I am going to try and make a few more of these squares. I don't know yet what I want to do with them, if I want to make another cardigan that I had already made, or if I want to make, you know, a small project like a bag. I could make like a little pillow cover or something like that. So I don't know what I want to do yet, but I think each of these things of yarn makes like 12 squares, I think, at least. And so I have 4 of them. So I will have quite a few squares once I get them all made. I just don't know yet what I want to do with them. So right now my plan is just to start randomly making squares, and then eventually I'll have enough to make something. And yeah, I just want to get this used up though, because I have those cube shelves, and one of the cubes had these yarns in it, and I really want them gone because they take up quite a bit of space, so I want to use them up. Anyways, I am going to go and get to cross stitching, and I will be back once I have done at least 500 stitches on Dark Cinderella. I am back and I have done another 500 stitches, and this time it was on Dark Cinderella, and you can barely see the stitches. So I was stitching here with these light colors, which are going to be some flower petals, but yeah, you can't really see them. So that's kind of disappointing, and it kind of led to me doing a tiny bit of shopping for some cross stitch charts. So I was stitching on this and I was like, 500 stitches, first of all, I can barely see them. Second of all, I was like, I'm doing 500 stitches, which is not like a small amount. Like, it's a small amount compared to these charts, but like in the grand scheme of it, like 500 stitches is a good amount of stitches. But on projects this large, you don't really see a lot. And I was like, I want to have a project with flowers where when I put 500 stitches in, I can see a flower. And so I ended up going and purchasing a few floral charts. And I ended up looking at a few different places. I've kind of looked on Etsy a little bit, but there's so much like dollar charts that you know aren't going to be good that it's just like, I don't love that. And you also don't know like if it's AI and all that stuff. And so Etsy was like, very quickly I like ran from Etsy, and I ended up on mybobbin.com, which I have never purchased anything from there before, but my sister had previously. And so I did a search in the cross stitch patterns section just for flowers, and I ended up finding 3 charts that I really liked, and they're smaller. So like one of the ones that I picked out, no, 2 of them, there are 2 that are both 3,100 stitches. I know that because I put them into Pattern Keeper. They did go in, and I will insert pictures of the charts that I bought. So one of them, no, 2 of them are honeycomb shaped charts. They're really cute. And one of them is honeycomb violets, and the other one is honeycombs orchid. And I loved those charts. I was like, those are so cute. They're only 3,000 stitches each. And that way, when I do 500 stitches, I might be able to see a flower, you know, because that's what I want. And then I also got another one called Hellebore Botany, and that one, I liked the purples and like the green tones of that one. Like I said, I'll insert pictures of all of them. That one is kind of bigger though, so that is 6,500 stitches, so it's bigger than the other ones, but I really like them. And then I'll have some charts that I can stitch eventually. I won't start them yet. I want to finish a few of the things that I recently started before I start these flower charts, but I think when I focus on them, I should be able to finish that bookstore one fairly fast, and also the King of Hearts and Stitches. So those ones should be able to be finished fairly quick, and then I can start a little floral one. I'm also kind of thinking that for the honeycomb charts, I don't know if I want to put them like on one piece of fabric, because there's a whole bunch of the honeycomb charts. Like they have all different flowers. There was more flowers I wanted to buy. There was like little honeycomb like house ones. There were so many, and so I don't know if I want to put them like all on a piece of fabric, like ooh, honeycomb everywhere, or if I want to use plastic canvas and stitch them on plastic canvas. So I'm not sure yet, but I have them. And then I also went looking through my patterns that I own currently, and I found another one that has flowers, and that is the Herbalist pattern that I bought probably over a year ago, but it was like sitting in my Google Drive. It wasn't in my pattern keeper, and so you just kind of forget like, oh, I have purchased a lot of things. And so I added that to pattern keeper, and so I know it's there. It's in there. It's ready to go. Who is it by? I don't think my PDF here says. It doesn't say, but it's from Etsy. I can link it down below. And I've had it, like I said, for a couple years. And it has like flowers and just a ton of stuff. It's very cute. Very cutesy, very demure. I love it. And I would like to start it eventually. And how many stitches is that? I was going to check that. That is 12,000 stitches. So slightly bigger than those other ones, but you know, it's very cute. And then I found a couple other patterns that were in my Google Drive that I put into Pattern Keeper that aren't flowers, so I won't talk about them now. This video is flowers. Anyways, so the next chart that I will be working on, and this is another one where, like I said, I don't know if my 500 stitches will actually show me a flower. This is not the right piece. I have found the right piece of fabric. Also, the lighting might be off right now because it's dark, like the sun's going down, so it's getting dark inside. The lighting is very yellow lights, and so the lighting might be weird. Anyways, I'm going to work on Cozy Winter Book Nook next, which, you know, this is a flower spring video and this is technically winter, but there's flowers in it. And I think I'm going to see how many stitches are left in this area here where there's like the florals on the wall. Otherwise, there is a vase with flowers that is down in like the window section somewhere. I don't know, this fabric is huge. This is a 25 count fabric, 2/1 half cross. It is huge because it's a huge chart, and yeah. But like I said, I think I'm just gonna try and stick in this area and see if I can get any flowers done. This one I might be able to see a flower because they're smaller flowers. And then also Rose Library. That one is going to be my real flower chart because that one little corner has a lot of flowers. So I got my fingers crossed. I'm holding out hope that that will be the chart where I see a flower, because Dark Cinderella, I don't see anything. Like you have the one flower up here, ooh, ooh, and then down here it's like there's stitches, kind of. Anyways, I'm gonna go get to stitching. I have too much energy because I had some cold brew earlier, so I'll probably be up late stitching, and hopefully I'll be back tomorrow with my 500 stitches on Cozy Winter Book Nook. Here is my progress on Cozy Winter Book Nook. I think it was 700 stitches on this piece, and now I am ready to switch. And I'm very happy though, because I actually got to do some like flowers. So the pink colors here are more of the flowers from this hanging plant. And so yeah, I got to do more actual flowers. But like I said, these are like flowers where they don't really look like flowers, you know? You have to get like far away and then you see the whole picture and you're like, yep, those are flowers. But right now they're just kind of like little pink blobs. But yeah, so I really would like to stitch something that looks more florally, more flowery. And so for today and tomorrow, I will be working on Rose Library, and then the day after tomorrow, I will be ending the video. So yeah, that's why it's only getting the 2 days, but I'm happy that it gets 2 days. And this chart should have some actual like flowery looking flowers in it, I'm hoping. So this is the area that I'll be working on. Down here at the bottom corner is where there's this flowers here. There are flowers that are in a vase. So the vase is down here, I think, and then there will be the flowers. And then there's also, I think, like a little like crown of flowers in the bottom corner. So I am hoping that this is the one. This is the piece. And then, like I said, I will be starting eventually those other flower pieces that I purchased from mybobbin.com. I cannot wait to start those. I keep thinking like, ooh, what if I just start one today? And then I'm like, no, finish a couple of your other small things and then start them. That would make more sense. So I will be waiting. Anyways, this is where I'm going to be stitching, somewhere down in this bottom section. I'm going to find the flowers, stitch on them, and this is a 25 count 2/1 half cross, and I will be back once I have progress on this. I am back with my final update, and I have done a little over 1,000 stitches into Rose Library, and there is a flower here, and there's another flower that is like, I think in this area here. It might be kind of hard to tell, but yeah, there's supposed to be a flower. Yeah, right there is a flower, and then right there. So we have a couple flowers added into Rose Library, which I'm very happy with the way that this one is coming together. I do love working on this so much, and it makes it kind of hard to put it away, but I'm also looking forward to this next week where I'm going to be working on things that I would like to get finished. I have already made a list of the projects I'm going to be working on for this coming up week, so I'm really excited for that. I'm also excited to get a finish so that I can start one of the flower pieces that I purchased in this video. I cannot wait to start like something like that is number one, smaller, and then number two, just specifically very floral and spring and summery, because June 1st I will be switching to like my summer project, which is there flowers and drinks on the beach? There might be like one flower, I think, that's like by one of the drinks. But yeah, on June 1st, I'm switching over to my summer project for like my 10 projects I'm supposed to be working on for this year, which I technically now have more than 10 projects that I'm working on because I started all those small things, but it's fine. It's basically like 10 full coverage projects, I guess, is what I could change it to. Anyways, and then for knitting, I did not work on my socks this week, but I did work on crochet, and I was making these flowers. And so at the beginning of the week, I just had these two. I had a red and then I had a blue, and I decided I really want to just like finish up one thing of yarn at a time instead of making like one flower from this red and then one flower from the blue and then one from like a different one. I want to use up an entire skein of yarn, and so right now I'm just focusing on the red. I still don't know what I'm going to make with them, but this week I made, let me see, I have my hook in one of them. I think there are 5 squares that are fully finished. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so I made 5 of the flower squares. I'm also going to say that some of them are not perfect, and so I was having issues with the colors not changing at the right point. And when I previously used the yarn, I was much more like, I would rip it out and then re-crochet it until it worked out. And then for some of them though, I just cut the yarn early. Like this one, I had so much of this orangey color that makes the flower petals, and I was like, there is no way I can loosen up my tension enough to make the transition work in the right place. And so I ended up cutting the yarn and then just moving over to the red and then starting over with the red. So I had to do that for this one. I have one where the color change happened a little bit too early, and I was like, I'm not ripping it out. I had one where the color change was a little bit late, so this flower petal looks a little bit bigger because it went up into the next round, but I'm just gonna leave it because I figure all flowers in nature are slightly different, and so they're just gonna be slightly, you know, imperfect flowers. Anyways, so I did 5, and then I am almost done with another one. I think I'm on the last round, which is just half double crochets, so that is easy. I mean, it's not half double crochets like all. You're doing the granny stitch pattern where you are doing 3 half double crochets, chain 1, 3 half double crochets, chain 1, or that's what this pattern calls for. And yeah, so you're doing like the granny clusters in half double crochet for your final border. So that is my squares, and I think that is all that I have for this video. So I'm going to go and get ready for my cross stitching for this week, where I will be working on projects that I would like to get finished this year. And so if you want to see that, come back next week for that video. Thank you everyone for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!